This is TJR's Classic Rock Corner podcast with your host, the Classic Rock Brainiac, yours truly, Terrence. Sit back and listen to me gush over albums that I love that either had an impact on my life or rock and roll in general, and be rest assured that there's no country or rap nonsense to be found here. So welcome to another exciting episode of TJR's Classic Rock Corner podcast. Welcome back, my friends, to the podcast that never ends. It's the Classic Rock Brainiac, Terrence Reardon, aka TJR, on TJR's Classic Rock Corner podcast. A show which is gaining a lot of views and new subscribers. And that's why I've been able to do live videos every now and again. And I'm just very happy that I'm getting more and more success. Little did I anticipate it, but people love what I do. And today's episode is on a band that I haven't discussed on any of my last two shows, but I'll tell you who it is. It's a band that's finally getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's Bad Company. The original lineup, the four amigos, Paul Rodgers, Mick Ralph, Simon Kirke, and Buzz Burrell. And I'm going to be talking about an album that is kind of quasi-overlooked, but it's the favorite of Paul Rodgers. And coincidentally, it's my favorite Bad Company album as well, not just saying it for kicks and giggles either. The title reads it, Run with the Pack. And before I talk about classic rock news and things, I figured I'd share what's been going on with me since the last review back in January. Well, I got sick the first weekend of January. I was doing errands for my father, and some buffoon coughed, and I caught their cold. So I was in bed for a week. And my father had to go out and do food shopping and errands for me. Not advisable for an 80-year-old to be out in the cold, but he did it for his son anyway. And then he wound up getting sick by some bum who sneezed on him. Wasn't his fault. And then my cold went away, but I had a post-viral cough that lingered on through my birthday. And I had to extend the celebration of my birthday for a month. Try doing that, folks. Extending your birthday celebration to make it a month long. I had to do it because usually my dad takes me out for dinner, record store shopping spree, etc., at his age. I'm his last born and high-functioning autistic here, so father and son time is always good. And I helped him get better and nursed him back to health, and he's doing great now. But getting sick was not on either of our schedules. But we both got ill, and it's no picnic, but it's no waste of time either. And whilst that happened, we found out some classic rock news and box set releases, which I will share one of them right this second, which is indeed, if memory serves me correctly, the Rush 50 box set, which was just released in the end of March, beginning of April. I know a lot of people have been complaining about that, and I'm not going to name names of those who complained, but those who bought it, like myself, are very, very happy with the product. And I'll have a little more to talk about right this second about my opinion of said box set. I think it's a great box set. In fact, it's got 10 unreleased tracks on there, which I did not like having bootlegs, so it's good to finally have them legitimately. And I'll tell you the songs. Not Fade Away, You Can't Fight It, which was the first single Rush ever did. That was released a year before the first album. Great to finally have it legitimately on a Rush album. The Vault edition of Working Man, which was only available on download in 2008 in one of those Guitar Hero games. And here's a little thing, folks. Guitar Hero. I hate those damn games. I'm glad they don't make that game anymore. Because real guitarists, like myself, I can play a real guitar great. But playing Guitar Hero, I stink at it. Watch the South Park episode where Stan's dad can play real guitar to Carry On Wayward Son. Then when he plays Guitar Hero, the same track, they say he stinks. It's true. I mean, I tried to do another Rush track on drums on that. I could play it for real, but unfortunately, the video game, I can't. It's ridiculous. It's madness. But I digress. The Working Man Vault Edition with the alternate guitar solos, killer. Need Some Love and Before and After Live, which was from the days when John Rutsey was in the band. Of course, he was the original drummer of the group, only appearing on their debut album in that first single aforementioned. Great live versions, I might add. And then early live recordings with the late, great Neil Peart. Bad Boy, Garden Road, which finally makes it to a Rush release after having to get it on a bootleg for so many years. Great to have it. One of my favorite early Rush tracks that should have been on an album, but hey, better late than never. And then Anthem Live, an early live version before its release on Fly By Night. The other extra track is The Trees Vault Edition, which was for Guitar Hero. It's an alternate take, but they used it on the Guitar Hero video game in the late 2000s. Again, I try to play it on the game version. I stink at it. I can play the song for real on guitar, but it's one of those strange dichotomies. You can play guitar for real, but when you play a toy guitar for a game, you suck at it. Or play toy drums and you suck at it. I'd probably fare worse with the keyboards. Sheesh. They made these things so complicated that a real musician would bomb at this thing. Stupid algorithms. And then, of course, we have one song from their final gig ever, recorded at the LA Forum in August 2015, the medley of What You're Doing, Working Man, and Garden Road live from the final Rush concert ever done in August 2015. Losing Neil Peart was the official end of the band. And it is a great box set, great book. CDs are phenomenal. You just got to put them in protective sleeves so they don't get scratched. And there's a lot of Rush fans like me who have it. And then there are those, like the podcast queens, who don't like it. They know who they are. And then another new release that just came out as of this recording. It's now out in stores or online, wherever you buy your music. Pink Floyd at Pompeii, 1972. The 1974 film cut has been re-released on Blu-ray and DVD in HD quality, with the visuals restored by Pink Floyd archivist Lana Topham, who's their British archivist. Their American archivist is Vernon Fitch, of course. And Vernon Fitch I actually have done corresponded with over the years and helping me with many of my Pink Floyd episodes. And the audio on this has been remixed by Steven Wilson, the same man who did the mixing on every Jethro Tull album that's been re-released in the last, 10 or so years. The re-releases of the Yes album, Fragile, Close to the Edge, Topographic Oceans, and Relayer. He did new stereo mixes and 5.1 mixes for those. A Farewell to Kings by Rush for the 40th anniversary box set. He did the remix for that. Who else has he done? King Crimson, many of their albums up through, I think up through 1981. I ain't so sure. King Crimson expert can correct me, but I know he did a remix of In the Court of the Crimson King, and it kicked serious ass. That's for sure, because I have it. And he's also done remixes for, like I said, Rush, Kiss's Destroyer in 2021, bettering the mix that Bob Ezrin did. Bob Ezrin did a pretty good mix, but a little too loud and too compressed in 2012. Steven Wilson did a better job for the 5.1 mix of Destroyer. Everyone's like, what? Destroyer's in 5.1? Yep, it most certainly is. Steven Wilson was given the keys to remix that darn thing. And he also did Richard Wright of Pink Floyd's Wet Dream, when that was re-released in 2023. Was much better than that Animals remix that James Guthrie did, that's for sure. Which basically spat on Rick Wright's legacy as far as I'm concerned. And botched a lot of the album, if you ask me. That's why I still have the original mix. And also, Steven Wilson was responsible for the 5.1 remix of The Who's Who's Next in 2023. So Steven Wilson is the man. And his work on this new Pompeii remix is better than the remix that Andy Jackson did in 2016 for the early years box set. I actually do enjoy it, and I don't hate it as much as a lot of people do. In fact, they brought Echoes as one piece, which is great. And I'm still going to keep it for the having Echoes as one song, not split up into parts 1 and 2. But, it was the first time I heard the unedited version of Songs Full of Secrets, which is now a bonus track on the Pink Floyd of Pompeii CD that just has been released, the soundtrack to the film, as a 2 LP set and 2 CD set. So you get the bonus tracks on CD2, whereas on the early years, Echoes was 1 track. The unedited Saucerful was on the CD, and the alternate take of Careful With That Axe was a bonus track on that box set. So many things. Being a Pink Floyd nerd, you tend to know these things. But finally, you get an album release of Pompeii Intro, which was like an early version of Speak to Me. And, of course, Mademoiselle Knobs, the alternate take of Seamus. And the killer versions of Echoes Parts 1, Careful With the Axe Eugene, Sauce Full of Secrets, One of These Days, Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, Mademoiselle Knobs, and Echoes Part 2. Oh man, killer, and it's remixed in 5.1, as well as Dolby Atmos. And if you want to grab it, it's amazing. David Gilmour's guitars are more pronounced in the new mix. Roger Waters' bass is kicking ass. Rick Wright's keyboards, of course. And Nick Mason's drums sounding energetic. And Steven Wilson, I think, should have a crack at the Pink Floyd catalog remixing. I think he would work wonders. If he had done Animals and Wish You Were Here and some of the other albums, you can only imagine he would do wonders for that. After James Guthrie botched Animals. But he's the same guy who was responsible for botching Amused to Death from Roger Waters. And he also botched the final cut by adding When the Tigers Broke Free to the album, which really didn't add much to it. It kind of ruined the flow for those who grew up with the album pre-2004 reissue, like myself. But I digress. And apparently he's also done a remix of the first David Gilmour album, which we hope will be released sooner or later. I think Gilmour's been impressed with the Pompeii remix that Steven Wilson's done, so he's like, well, I better give him a whirl. And like I said, the Andy Jackson remix from 2016 wasn't bad to my ears. I mean, I've heard worse remixes. The Genesis remixes by Nick Davis. Now that it was a slap in the face to Genesis fans. Justin Shirley Smith's remix of Brian May's Starfleet project. That was blasphemy. The drums sound like a Ariana Grande record now. I like the old, dry, killer sound that Mac got of the original mix. Defacing what Mac did is a slap in the face to the great Reinhold Mac. God. Don't even get me started on the first Queen album remix. That was sacrilege. The Who remixes by John Astley, they were no better. They should have had Steven Wilson remix the Who catalog, but c'est la vie. And I'm a fan of the remix, but there are remixes I do love. The Vapor Trails remix was better than the original. The updated remix, Momentary Lapse of Reason, is better than the original. I say updated and remix because Nick Mason recorded all new drums, and they added Rick Wright's keyboards from different concerts, and outtakes from the album to add to the album. And David Gilmour's vocal from On the Turning Away was replaced from a concert rather than the original vocal, which David didn't like the original vocal. I kind of don't blame him. And having the updated remix version alongside the original mix, you get your choice of which one you want to play. I tend to go with the new mix because it's more of a Pink Floyd album than the original. And as far as Animals goes, I'll stick with the original mix. The remix, utter sacrilege. Steven Wilson, For the Win, Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii remixed, out in stores and online now. We also got anniversary editions coming soon. Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms coming out later this month in Europe. A US release should be soon enough. I will re-air that Brothers in Arms episode with an update on the deluxe edition to be added. And looking at Brothers in Arms, The 40th anniversary edition's got on CD 1 the remaster of the album, and CDs 2 and 3 are why to have it. Live in San Antonio, Texas on the Brothers in Arms tour. A great sounding bootleg, which was actually professionally recorded for King Biscuit, finally gets an official release, remixed from the original multi-tracks. To hear Terry Williams' drumming on those songs, he was the powerhouse drummer of that band. And yeah, Pick Withers might have been good for the early days, but Terry Williams was the drummer for Dire Straits. And hearing him drumming his ass off and playing with thunder, with that Ludwig kit and Peisty cymbals combo, he was the man. So that Brothers in Arms reissue is coming out in May in Europe. Hopefully a US release sometime in the summer via Warner Music, Rhino Records, because the Dire Straits catalog is attached to two separate record companies, Universal in Europe, Warner Music here in the States. So yeah, Brothers in Arms is getting the reissue treatment, as well as Genesis in their album The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, the 50th anniversary box set, which brings the original mix remastered on CD for the first time in over quite a few, almost 20 years on CD. The original 1974 mix, this time completely remastered from the original tapes. The only other way you could get a remaster of the original 1974 mix is if you buy that hybrid SE CD from Acoustic Sounds, which costs an arm and a leg, especially in this economy. I urge you to get this box set because you're going to get the remaster of the original mix of the album finally. That remix that Nick Davis did was utter sacrilege. And also the live performance of The Lamb from January 24th, 1975, 1 year to the day before I was born. And yeah, this time you get the full show. On the archive box set, you had the performance, but you were missing it, so they had to use a remix. I think this time around they are using the original live performance, I think adding Peter Gabriel's current vocal, or 1990s vocal, over it. Then the encores of Watcher of the Skies and the musical box finally added to it. And the album mixed in Dolby Atmos surround. Well worth owning. So if you're a fan of Genesis, that 4 CD Blu-ray set, or I think 5 or 6 LP Blu-ray set will be out in June. That's the good. In other news, AC/DC is in the midst of their current tour in support of their album Power Up. And I would have gone to see AC/DC on this tour, but the tickets were sold out, A, in Foxborough, and B, I've already seen them twice already. Once with the classic lineup, and again with the Rock or Bust lineup, Mach A, which was Brian Johnson, Angus Young, Cliff Williams, Chris Slade, and Stevie Young. Technically the Razor's Edge lineup, but with Stevie Young in Malcolm's place, and Malcolm Young was still with us at the time. But this tour here, it's just not that great, and it's painful for me to hear Brian Johnson singing at his age. I know he has a hearing aid and everything now, but it just doesn't sound that great. I mean, the album was phenomenal. Power Up was a great record. But the tour is just... Guys, it's time to retire. And on top of that, I'm kind of beginning to get burned out on Back in Black. And people are saying, how can you get tired of Back in Black? It's the biggest selling rock album of all time. Who gives a damn? I'll tell you the thing. Radio overload. To quote Men at Work in the name of a heavy metal band, it's overkill. Overkill was a great track. But yeah, radio bleeding AC/DC's Back in Black to death. Every time I turn on either Sirius XM or a classic rock station, or a rock station, whatever ones that are left, I hear something from that album every single day. I mean, I do have PTSD about that album. I'll share a little story about it. Try being in high school in marching band as a percussionist, which I was, drummer, and having to be at every football game, either in the band or watching your brother play, as, I went to the games when my brother was on the team, and he was a defensive line, kicked everyone's ass. But during halftime, my high school, which was Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, their football cheerleader squad cheerleaded to the intro to You Shook Me All Night Long, meshed with Tone Loc's Wild Thing. Every time I hear that guitar riff now, the intro riff, I hear Tone Loc's Newport ravaged voice going, "Let's do it." Oh my good Lord. And then into the song, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh no. What the hell are they doing? And now I have PTSD whenever I hear that flippin' tune. I'm saying flippin' because I'm trying not to curse. Again, getting older, I have to watch what I say. I know some people are now complaining about me not to use many profanities, but I made a pact with my father not to swear as much as I used to. But hearing You Shook Me All Night Long on a daily basis every week just drove me to the breaking point. I will never want to hear that song again. The title track to Back in Black, same deal. Combo of that, plus movies, commercials, Sirius XM, classic rock radio. Sometimes I turn on the radio and don't play my USB drive in the car, and it's always something from Back in Black, and I have to change the station. Because playing songs from that album every single day just drives you completely bonkers. I mean, the Bon Scott era stuff I'll listen to, no problem. For those about to rock, no problem. Flick of the Switch, underrated, underappreciated album, yeah, I'll listen to that. Fly on the Wall, of course. Blow Up Your Video, yeah, of course. The Razor's Edge, not really. Kind of burned out upon that album as well. Money Talks, Mistress for Christmas, and Thunderstruck, I'm Looking at You. It's just as you get older, some things you kind of get extremely burned out on. And you can blame, classic rock radio stations for having a stifled playlist. And it's one of the strangest dichotomies that I'm burned out on Back in Black, Rumors from Fleetwood Mac, and Appetite for Destruction from Guns N' Roses, Hysteria from Def Leppard, and a few other albums, because Sirius XM, the various stations, and classic rock radio plays songs from that album every single day, and you're just like, oy vey, oy vey. Good grief. And, but one of the strangest ironies is that Hotel California, which was the best-selling rock album of all time here in the States, studio album that is, it's now a number 3 once again, number 2 once again. I'm not tired of that album. Apart from the title track and Life in the Fast Lane, I rarely hear anything off that album. But then when I hear Hotel California and Life in the Fast Lane, I usually go to the version on Eagles Live from 1980, because I think those versions were better anyway. And yeah, I know overdubbed, but then again, it's my opinion. Let's see. Rumors from Fleetwood Mac, I can't even listen to that album. To me, that's like the McDonald's of rock albums. Back in Black, the Coca-Cola of rock albums. Oh my goodness. Thriller, don't even get me started on Michael Jackson. Because I'm trying to be PG here, or PG-13. But he was a kid diddling piece of work. And Thriller, if I ever hear that album again, I'll run to the bathroom to dry heaves. Then, mercifully, the best-selling album of all time here in the States is the Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 1, which, for some reason, I don't think I'll ever get tired of, because that was one of the first rock albums I ever owned as a kid. And I'll have more to say about the Eagles on a future episode. Mostly good. Although I don't condone what Don Henley's doing these days, with the lip-syncing. But, such is life. I mean, there's worse things to rant and rave about. But, c'est la vie. So on that note, let's switch gears from preaching off the pulpit and talk about something more positive, which is Run with the Pack by Bad Company. I hope you enjoy it. Bad Company's third album, Run with the Pack, was released on the 28th of January 1976, just a few short days after I was born, on Swan Song here in America and on Island Records in the band's native England. And I'm using the remastered CD booklet to verify that because, remember, I'm banned from Wikipedia. As Michael Borland of The Bottom Line calls it, Wikipedia. Although other sources say February 21st, 1976. I see flyers in Billboard magazine from here that it was indeed January 76 for the album's U.S. release. And by the time the band got to work in this album, the band had just finished their successful second American tour, this time as headliners, in support of their second top 5 album in a row, their sophomore effort, Straight Shooter, which proved that the Bad Company was not going to be a one-album fluke. Their debut album had gone to number 1, Straight Shooter had gone to number 3, so momentum was on their side, and the band was making hand-over-fist amounts of money, and the band consisting of lead singer Paul Rogers, drummer Simon Kirke, both originally from the band Free, guitarist Mick Ralphs, originally from Mott the Hoople, and the late great bass-playing wonderkin Boz Burrell, or as JCM, my buddy, Led Zeppelin buddy, calls him Boz Burrell, was from King Crimson. A move that Boz looked back and King Crimson said he didn't really like his timing in King Crimson, although he did learn playing bass, but he thought that the lyrics and the music was nonsense, in his own words. If you watched the Behind the Music from 1999, Boz laid on the line on why he got so pissed off with King Crimson and left for the greener pastures of Bad Company. Best decision he ever made. He was one funny dude. But by this time, a lot of British bands are recording abroad because of the English tax bracket. Bands like the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, Rod Stewart, Cat Stevens, Supertramp, they would all record in the United States or abroad to avoid the English taxman. In 1974, the situation was complicated, and when Conservative Prime Minister Edward Heath called an early election, as he fought with the coal miners' union, he lost. And then Harold Wilson came in with a Labour government, and at that stage, if you were earning over £20,000, translation to, at the time, 40,000 American dollars, you were going to pay 83% tax on anything else. Bad Company were an apolitical band. That meant there was no political statements in their music. Thank the good Lord for that. And the band was like, we got to keep our money. So basically at the end of every tour, we couldn't go home, or if they did, it wasn't for long. And it wasn't a new thing that George Harrison, of course, immortalizing the song Taxman from the Beatles' Revolver album when he sang, "There's one for you, 19 for me." Even in the 60s, some people left the UK and did not ever come back as residents. So the band was trying to come up with an idea of what to do. So the Bad Company would only go back to the UK for brief bits of family time and then would have to flee the country just to escape the English taxman. And with resident restrictions in mind, Bad Company flew to England to visit family and slip into Island Studios in London to rehearse and record a few live demos. With half the album already in the can and already in place, they packed their bags and decided to record abroad at a unique place again. This time, it was France, where they would hire a chateau as the venue to work on their next album. Grassy is a large town just outside of Cannes on the French Riviera. Blessed with beautiful climate and best known as the world's capital of perfume, it also has an attractive cathedral with works by Peter Paul Rubens, and it wasn't such a terrible place to spend a little time. So Bad Company settled into their new abode and enjoyed the weather whilst they waited for the Rolling Stones' mobile studio to arrive, with engineer Ron Nevison, who had engineered their first 2 albums. So he was back for a third, and it turned out to be final time because his schedule would get more complicated, working with the likes of UFO, Ozzy Osbourne, Heart, Kiss, etc., etc., etc. His career would just go higher and higher. And the band were at the chateau waiting for the Rolling Stones mobile truck to arrive, and then a loud knock on the door revealed an irate, breathless engineer Mick McKenna had to run up a quarter mile up the driveway to inform the band that there was no way that the mobile studio was going to fit through the gates. and they couldn't run cables from outside the walls to the chateau unless another more suitable location was found. And then they had to unfortunately go home. After seeing themselves just how wide the truck was, the band rang Swan Song, their record label, and Peter Grant had the band and the mobile duly dispatched to another place with gates wide enough to accommodate its girth. And there was some funny stories while they were recording in France in the fall of 1975. They started recording the album in September of 1975, and Paul Rodgers remembered the place as a typical French chateau with balconies, wrought iron railings, and being out on the veranda recording live vocals with headphones and microphones all set up, and then having to halt recording because a moped delivering pizza would be whizzing by. So we'd be going, running with a live for the... And then Boz Burrell was in another part of the studio recording his bass parts, and some French lady's like, complaining about the pipes having to be fixed. And you could hear it over his bass amp. He's like, fuck me. I'm trying to do me bass part, and this Jezebel woman comes in screaming in French as I'm trying to get the bloody track done here, mate. Oh my goodness. Pure Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap was written for this sort of thing. It was funny. So they had to deal with mopeds delivering pizzas as Paul Rodgers is doing his vocal tracks, Boz Burrell dealing with a nutso French lady with trying to have her pipes fixed or whatever, and her screaming as his bass guitar track was coming through one of the pickups on his bass guitar. Pure Spinal Tap. And the band spent most of September and October recording at this Grasse French chateau. It wasn't the Chateau de Hérouville, but yeah, it was a chateau in Grasse, with Ron Nevison manning the Rolling Stones mobile recording truck once again. And the band had already recorded a number of songs by then, and they were listening to rough mixes of 3 of the tracks on the album: Fade Away, the title track, and Silver, Blue, and Gold. And by the 9th of September, Honey, Child, and Do Right By Your Woman were roughly settled. Then on the 12th, the first listening mixes of Live for the Music, Sweet Little Sister, and Love Me Somebody joined the proposed track list. So the band were doing perfect work, and they finished the recording in 20 days. And then they decided to go to Los Angeles, California once again, to do overdubs and mixing. And it was towards the end of October that strings would be added, and then they did some additional recording at I'm reading here, the record plant in Los Angeles with Ron Nevison once again, and they recorded a couple songs that were not used for the album at the record plant. And then when that was finished, the band decided to go mix the album at Kendon Recording Studios in Burbank with the legendary Eddie Kramer, famous for his work with Jimi Hendrix up to that point on all 3 of his albums. Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, he did some tracks. Houses of the Holy. He worked with everybody. And of course, his biggest claim to fame, Kiss. So Eddie Kramer was brought in to mix the album, and the album was finished and mixed by the end of December 1975. And of course, Paul Rodgers and Simon Kirke were fans of Eddie Kramer, and Paul Rodgers would say, I would bend his ear every chance I got with questions about Hendrix, and he had a lot of great experience. So with the 3rd album all set and ready to go for release, the band went back to England to spend time with their families briefly until they went back on the road at the beginning of 1976. And then Run with the Pack was officially launched in January 1976. And for the album cover, the band decided not to use Hypnosis for a change. This time they settled on John Cush, which he was famous for his work on the Beatles' Let It Be album sleeve, Who's Next by The Who. I think he did Abbey Road by the Beatles, I ain't so sure, but I know he did Who's Next, I know he did Let It Be. And he would come to fame for his work with the Eagles on everything from Hotel California to Greatest Hits Volume 2. A lot of Linda Ronstadt's album sleeves from that Asylum Records period from 1976 forward. And he also did REO Speedwagon's High Infidelity, Good Trouble, Wheels Are Turning. So he's, ELO's New World Record. And John Kosh is no slouch at album cover, so he's had a track record. So they settled on him, and the front cover of it was perfect. There was baby wolves, a mother and father, mama and papa wolf with their cubs, with a human infant amongst them. And this would turn into a movie over a decade later, if you know what I'm talking about. All I can think of now looking at this album cover is the Howie Mandel movie Walk Like a Man, where Howie Mandel's character was left behind by his family and was raised by wolves. So you think maybe Bad Company had a crystal ball seeing into the future that their album cover was going to be turned into a real life movie? You'd be the judge. But yeah, it had a silver and black design. It was a clever piece of eye candy, and it stood out from the record store. And inside the album sleeve was also a murky group photo by David Alexander, who of course would take the picture of the Eagles in that dingy hotel on the gatefold of the Hotel California album sleeve. And it showed the band, which appeared trapped inside a motel room, TV on with Bugs Bunny showing and beer on the table. It could be easily read as an image of the average touring life of a band, but as Simon Kirk remembered, quote, "We were all pretty tired, quite honestly. I believe we were asked to do a shot outside, but we overruled the guy." A little known fact is that I Love Lucy was actually on the television when the picture was taken. But Lucille Ball threw a holy stink and didn't like the idea of a rock and roll band using her image. And she wouldn't give her permission, so it was changed to Bugs Bunny. I think the Bugs Bunny image was better anyway. Lucille Ball was an old hag. Bugs Bunny rules, man. And my introduction to this album, well, let me go back to August 1986, if I may. By that point, I was already listening to Bad Company for a number of months. I had the first album, I had Desolation Angels, I had Street Shooter, and I had Rough Diamonds, acquired in that order, all on cassette tape. And I got into Bad Company via the Led Zeppelin connection, the Swan Song label. My sister Tanya's boyfriend at the time gave me his copy of the first album. I loved it, played the piss out of it. My father bought me Desolation Angels the next day. And then one of my mom's friends, I will talk more about Street Shooter, but I got a copy of Street Shooter next. Then I got Rough Diamonds. My mom bought me that album. Yeah, I think it's a great record. A lot of people may not like Rough Diamonds, but it's called timing. If I heard it back then in the day and I was an older Bad Company fan, I probably would have complained. But since I was 10 years old when I heard the darn thing in 86, it was a breath of fresh air compared to all that dated drivel techno pop I was kind of getting sick and tired of hearing on pop radio. By then I was pretty much gone to rock radio by then. Thank the good Lord for that. So then August 1986 rolls around, and apparently I was only needing 2 Bad Company albums. There was 2 eluding me, Burnin' Sky and Run With the Pack. And I had finished my school shopping for school clothes because I was about to begin my 5th grade, my final year of elementary school, and went to Marshall's, got my clothes. This is in Weymouth, Mass. And then after the clothes shopping, my mom had a little extra money, and there was a record store in that mini mall called Side One Records and Tapes. Yeah, cleverly named, yes, I know, but those independent record store chains back in the day, they pardon my language, they fucking ruled. So I go to Side One, and I see both Bad Company albums that I'm looking for. And part of me wanted to go with both of them, but my mom's like, you can only pick one. I'm like, oh boy, I'm like, this is like a gun to my head moment. I'm like, Burnin' Sky is a cool title, but then I look at the cover of Run With the Pack, I go, no, I take that back. I want Run With the Pack. I want Run With the Pack. The one with the wolves on it. My mother's like, okay. I'm like, that cover just looks badass, which it did to my 10-year-old ears. Seeing of a pack of wolves, of a mama and papa wolf with their cubs. And little did I know it was an infant until I read the essay on the remaster, that it was an human infant with the pack of wolves on the front cover. Hence the title, Run with the Pack. Oh, man. So I got the album on knowing just one track, because I heard the title track because someone played side 1 of 10 from 6 along the way. And I was like, well, how bad can Run with the Pack be? I was blown away on the first listen. We put it on before we went out for dinner after the food shopping. I was not stopping, bopping my head to the music, because it just kicked everyone right square in the nuts, especially the opening track, which, oh man. A lot of people may say, oh, Run with the Pack, the band was losing steam. I think the band just got better. As far as I'm concerned, this was like their pinnacle. And Paul Rodgers usually agrees on that one. And what do I think of the songs? Well, I'll begin my love fest for this album right this second. Excuse me. And we begin with one of Bad Company's best rockin' tracks written by Mick Ralphs called Live for the Music, which begins with that fading in E chord. And then Boz Burrell doing two bass tracks, one going ba-bum, ba-bum, and then another one going boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Oh my goodness, and Mick Ralph's power chords, Paul Rodgers' vocals, Simon Kirk's drumming. Some people say I'm a no good, laying in my bed all day. Oh my goodness. And this song kind of like became my rallying cry. Right from the moment I first heard this thing as a 10-year-old kid, I'm like, yeah, pardon my language. I was like, holy shit, this song is just ass-kickingly great. And I kept singing it to the breaking point. I think my older brother was like ready to say, Terrence, shut up. But hey, as a 10-year-old kid, I knew my taste in music. I was a rock and roller. And this song kind of became my rally cry. Live for the music, give everything you got. Live for the music. You know you're going to find a lot to ease your mind. Now, you may say I'm a mean mistreater. Say I didn't treat you right. Sooner or later, I'm going to leave it to you, baby. I don't want to fuss and fight now. Hey, baby, give me good loving. Do it to me all night long. Any old thing that'll make me happy as long as I can sing my song. And then a repeat of the chorus. The Mick Ralphs guitar solo was very simple but effective. The diddling, 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 diddling. Oh my goodness, live for the music, give it everything you got. Mick Ralphs' guitar solo is Paul singing again. And then live for the music, give it everything that you got. Come on, baby. And Mick Ralphs just going batshit on that Les Paul of his, him just shredding. I mean, he was one of the best rock guitarists I've ever heard in my life. It's a damn shame he doesn't play anymore because he had a stroke in 2016. It's always the good guys that get sidelined before their time. Mick Ralphs, one of the most unsung heroes in guitar playing. His solos on this track just kick everyone right square in the ass. Paul Rodgers going, get out on the floor, dance and dance some more. Come on now, baby. Come on now, baby, now. And then it ends with the guitars and Paul Rodgers going, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the guitars and the vocals fading out, and it's just the bass and the drums going, bum, 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 bum. And the rhythm section of Burrell and Kirk right in the pocket. And then Boz Burrell doing his bass solo at the end. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, man. And the song just fades out. Man, oh, man, oh, man. But the band thought of this song highly enough that it was played live on quite a few of their tours. It was the opening song on the Run with the Pack tour. They opened the shows with that song, perfect concert opener, if I say so myself. It was also played on the Burn In Through America tour, the Burn In Sky tour, the Desolation Angels tour, their 1999 reunion tour, and it's appeared on quite a few of their compilations. 10 from 6 is the last track, obviously, and it's also appeared on their 2015 Rock and Roll Fantasy compilation. And boy, does this song kick everyone right square in the ass. Killer track. Not much more I can add, but a great rockin' tune. It is, it was, and forever shall be. Now we come to track number 2. A song called Simple Man Again, written by Mick Ralphs. Instead of going hard rock this time, he kind of goes for a mid-tempo with a guitar arpeggiating being in the key of D minor, and Paul Rodgers' vocals just haunting like you wouldn't believe. I'm just a simple man running in my hands Oh, it ain't easy. I'm trying to sing. I'm just a simple man. And just, oh, believe me. And then, freedom is the only thing, means a damn to me. Oh, no, you can't fake it. See, I'm singing the damn song because it just, when I first heard this as a 10-year-old, it just hooked me. I was like, oh my God, this song is just beautiful. It's amazing. And I still feel that way almost 40 years after I first heard the darn thing. I'm like, these songs live with you forever for a reason. Not because they're just hooky, but Bad Company knew how to, Paul Rogers could sing the phone book and I'd buy it. Mick Ralphs could do an instrumental album. I'd buy it. The original four of Bad Company was like the original Van Halen. You take one of those guys out and it's not the same. And this song had one of the best descending chords from Mick Ralphs, and Paul Rogers' vocals on that track just blew the band away. And of course, Paul Rogers is singing brilliantly. I'm just a simple man, trying to wave my hands. Oh, it ain't easy. I'm just a simple man, waving my hands. Oh my goodness, I wish there was lyrics for this, but I'm trying to remember. Freedom is the only thing, means a damn to me. The chorus again, and then a yeah, da-da-ling, doo-doo-ding, ding, doo-doo-ding. Sounds like a 12-string guitar, but it was actually clean Les Paul's double-tracked. Mick Ralphs was brilliant at that. And then you hear some additional Hammond organ towards the end, and Paul Rogers just singing in that voice of his. Anyone that don't like Paul Rogers, you need to be kicked right square in the balls. Sean Morrison, Staten Island, bitch, that means you. You don't like Paul Rogers? Get the hell out of here. Paul Rogers rules. Paul Rogers just singing this song as if his life depended on the damn thing. I know I shouldn't be shaming people, but my God, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, we don't like Paul Rogers. Go back and listen to that glam metal crap. Paul Rogers rules. And yeah, he rules the song, Simple Man. And then ends with him going, freedom is the only thing, over the ending arpeggiating. Means a damn to me. Oh my goodness. And just, the song is just, no matter how many times I've heard this song over the last 39 years, soon to be 39 years, I still get enjoyment today. Paul Rogers singing as the song fades out, the band just playing brilliantly. And the song was played live on the subsequent Run with the Pack tour, with Mick Ralphs just doing great work. And of course it was played again on the 1976 77 Burn in Sky tour. The Desolation Angels tour was played on. It was played on just about every tour with Paul Rogers, if my memory serves me correctly. Yes. When they do pull this out, the hardcore fans are like, yeah. And this song was thought highly enough by the band that they put on the Rock and Roll Fantasy compilation album that was released in 2015. Highly recommended if you want a good greatest hits from Bad Company. That's the better pick than 10 from 6, because 10 from 6, it's really 10 from 5. Rock and Roll Fantasy is 19 from 6. Yeah, you get songs from every album on the Rock and Roll Fantasy compilation. And in fact, it's a double vinyl, 79-minute CD. So this time they put 4 songs from Run with the Pack on that said compilation. And of course the song Simple Man, great track, I loves it. Next is the first composition by the band, as a credit to the band as a whole, band called Honey Child, which was written by all 4 members of the band. And this rockin' track features Mick and Paul both on guitars, and I think the guitar solo is either Mick Ralphs or Paul Rogers. And this song, this rockin' tune kicks everybody's ass. The first time that I met you, you were just 17, couldn't let you down. Honey child, don't you know you drive me wild? Honey child, don't you know you drive me wild? I'm just about to lose my mind. Oh my goodness. Phenomenal vocal by Paul, and I think the guitar solo is either Mick Ralphs or Paul Rogers. Some say it's Paul. I think it might be Paul Rogers doing the guitar solo. You didn't seem to have no you had a long, I'm reading this. You had a long black dress, your hair is in a mess, you didn't seem to have no class, but the look on your face was no disgrace. I knew I had to move real fast. And then the second verse. Well, the second time that I met you, you had just turned 21, and all you're talking about love was gone, long gone. And then the chorus, honey child, don't you know you drive me wild, and into this guitar solo, which I think is Paul Rodgers doing the guitar solo. I could be corrected, but I think on one of the performances in one of the channels, it's Paul doing the guitar solo. Others say it's Mick Ralph's. I think it's Paul Rodgers. Because if you hear the live version from Live in Albuquerque, that's Paul's tone. You can tell Paul Rodgers had a fun time doing the guitar solo, which when he played lead guitar, he could play some kick-ass lead guitar. Even Simon Kirk can tell you that. Listen to Painted Face on Rough Diamonds or Downhill Rider on that album. Or the guitar solo on Can't Get Enough, the last solo. That's Paul Rodgers. Most people are like, Paul Rodgers can play lead? Yeah, he's a great lead player. And this track has Paul on lead guitar, and this song was released as a single initially here in the States, but sadly it didn't do diddly squat because, like the great Dennis DeYoung of Styx once said, hard rock tracks really don't fare well on the Billboard singles chart. They tend to die a sad death. So it kind of is like a uphill battle for those listening to AM radio. But Album Rock Radio, on the other hand, played the living hell out of this track, and I don't blame him one bit. And the song was thought of highly enough to be included on 2 compilation albums from the band. First in 1999 on the excellent Original Bad Company anthology, the first of 4 songs from the album on that compilation. And it also appears on the 2015 Rock and Roll Fantasy single disc compilation, which is, like I said, almost 80 minutes in length of Bad Company classics. And this song just kicks everybody right square in the ass. Great hard rockin' tune. The first time the band wrote something together, and it came out of a jam, and boy did they jam this thing, and it was played on many of the tours with Paul Rodgers. Honey Child was played on the Run with the Pack tour. A live version appears on the Live in Albuquerque unofficially unauthorized live release from 2006. It was recorded in Albuquerque in 1976. It was also performed live on the Burning Sky tour, I believe, the Desolation Angels tour occasionally. And it was also played on the 1999 reunion tour that Bad Company did with the original foursome, and the opening act was Diamond David Lee Roth. I should have seen that tour. I should have gone to it. That would have given me a chance to see David Lee Roth before his voice went to Kermit the Frog territory. And he was a killer opening act for the original Bad Company. So you think maybe that was a sign I should have gone to that? Absolutely. Looking back at that set list, I'm like, sheesh, why didn't I go to that? Oh yeah, got sidetracked. I was working at Quincy Records at the time, so I couldn't go even if I wanted to. Then I had no one who wanted to go see Bad Company with me, unfortunately. It's one of the strange dichotomies of life. Had the chance, but unfortunately I overlooked it and it passed me by. Kicking myself in the ass for that. And sadly, I did not ever get to see the original Bad Company lineup. Honey Child, a great rockin' tune, a great song, and it appears on both the Rock and Roll Fantasy compilation, and it also appears on the 2 CD Bad Company, original Bad Company anthology from 1999. Honey Child, killer track, not much more I can say. Now we go from fast rock and tempo rock tunes to a sort of a gospel-inspired ballad written and sung by Paul Rodgers called Love Me Somebody, which has Paul playing some brilliant grand piano stuff, and Mick Ralph's, and Paul Rodgers also adding Hammond organ, and Mick Ralph's playing a brilliant Fender Telecaster guitar solo with Paul Rodgers singing the first verse in his lower register. Love me somebody, somebody love me, take me for what I'm worth, but only love me, but only love me. Wow, who was the crazy fool? See, I'm singing the damn thing. Who followed you home from school, hoping you would say hello, but you didn't know that you were breaking my heart. And then the next verse he sings an octave higher in the love me somebody. See, I'm singing the damn thing because it's so catchy. And then, well, I was the crazy fool. Oh my goodness. Didn't know, breaking my heart, yeah. And then Mick Ralph's Fender Telecaster solo. And you can tell he was using a Fender on that track because it has that Fender twang to his guitar. It was either a Telecaster or a Stratocaster without a whammy bar. But a brilliant solo played by Ralph's nevertheless, just kicking it, him on the guitar, and then Paul Rodgers again singing the last part, the final Love Me Somebody, Somebody Love Me. And according to the remastered deluxe edition booklet here, Paul Rodgers' vocal was indicative of Otis Redding at his best. And Paul's credentials as a singer were well established by this time, but you never failed to take your breath away with the sheer depth of feeling in that voice. He then closes side, and then he keeps singing the ending, but only love me, but only love me. Oh my goodness. Very, very gospel-y R&B sounding, but done brilliantly with Paul on piano and Hammond organ. Mick Ralph's on the Fender Telecaster or Stratocaster without whammy bar. It's a Fender, all right. You can tell from the sound twang of the guitar it's a Fender. And that solo, just amazing, killer, and a great way to end that particular track. And now we get to the side one closing title song written by Paul Rodgers, which Paul Rodgers begins the song in this key of in the key of D natural, done with that angry grand piano thing into this. It's not sorry I'm leaving, but more bugger this I'm off. The lyrics with the apparent dig at the band's tax situation, which is you never give me my. I get the lyrics here. So the lyrics read, as I read this darn thing. Oops, wrong page. Yes, I'm live here. Here we go. You never give me my money. You only give me your sympathy because I keep on running. There's no way to catch up with me. I'm leaving you. Don't make no fuss. You won't even see me. Oh no, for dust. Into the chorus, which is in the key of D minor. Run with the pack. And it opens into a much more broad premise about freedom and escape. And it's very much the sequel to the band's theme song, Bad Company, from the debut. And the obvious title track for the album. And Paul Rodgers said he wrote two songs with it. The first one went missing on a cassette recording, but I liked the title and wrote the song that later appears as the title track of the album. Later I found the original cassette, the first Run with the Pack. Mick and I considered doing Run with the Pack too as the two songs, but are very different from each other, but we rejected it, and that is too confusing, so it remains unrecorded. And the song also kind of makes it sound like it's another... like it could have been in a Western movie, because some of these songs sound like very outlawish, but my goodness, I'm running with the pack, sung 3 times, never looking back. You try to keep me in cages, but baby, you gotta catch me first. You think your law is contagious, I'll do my best, you can do your worst, I'm leaving you. Now who can I trust, you won't even see me, oh no, for dust. And then a repeat of the chorus, and then look out there in Mick Ralph's guitar solo, which he's just shredding the hell out of that Gibson Les Paul, like his life depended on it. Then you hear 2 multi-track Les Pauls played by Mick, as Paul's playing the piano, and then a rhythm clean guitar by Mick Ralph's. Da dun da da dun dee. Oh dun 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 dun. Oh my goodness! And then going into the ending, running with the pack, running with the pack, never looking back. Oh, and then the piano motif of the do, 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 do. Oh my goodness. Done on the piano, and then the band singing Running with the Pack again, brilliantly again. And then Paul doing the fast piano thing in the D minor, alternating between D minor and C. And working very brilliantly. And the orchestra on this track was conducted once again by Jimmy Horowitz, who recorded the string arrangements for the title track, and Paul Rodgers played him the outro, and he heard this thing, and then he said, you know what, I want the orchestration to go like this. And of course, Jimmy Horowitz, who did the string arrangements on Straight Shooter's Weep No More, Paul Rodgers had been hearing the strings in his head. And he goes, putting the strings on the title track was a revelation. I played the track to Jimmy Horowitz and I hummed the lines to him. He translated that into a musical score and put his own wonderful spin on it. As a songwriter, it was a big thrill to hear the string part on the track. And Simon Kirke even says the title track is a dynamite track. It was pretty darn good as it was, but when the strings were added, it really took off, and it's a perfect way to end side one of the album. And for the first tours they played the song, it didn't have the string parts, because Paul Rodgers was anchored to playing a Wurlitzer electric piano in live versions. Think Live in Albuquerque 1976. So they didn't have the luxury of bringing a string synthesizer on tour in those days just for that one track. So you just had to play the piano part. And Mick Ralphs had to do that orchestra part on the guitar, which was good, but not the same as the orchestra. Same thing applied on the Burnin' Through America tour in 1976. Then the Desolation Angels tour, they play it again. This time Paul Rodgers had a new toy with him. Not just only the Yamaha CP70 electric grand piano, which could reproduce a grand piano sound, brilliantly I might add, but an ARP Omni 2 string synthesizer, which kind of could recreate that orchestra thing perfectly. I mean, you needed to have something to recreate an orchestra. Sometimes if you find the right string synthesizer, it could do that. Things like the ARP Omni, the ARP Omni, Omni 2, or even the Salinas string synthesizer. Those things would work like a charm. And then, of course, things like the Elka Rhapsody, which Supertramp would use. So there was a lot of bands who did use synthesizers for strings. But you had to find the right one to do it. Nowadays, you could just do it on a workstation. It will sound good, but you needed the either real strings or one of those classic string synths to do the job. And the band thought of the song highly enough that they included it on quite a few compilation albums. One of which was 10 from 6, obviously. And then they included it again on the original Bad Company anthology in 1999 on CD, 2 of that 2-CD retrospective. And it was also featured on the 2015 Rock and Roll Fantasy Very Best of Bad Company CD in a shortened version. So they fade the song out before the strings come in. You're like, what the hell? Oh man, and the band has played it on every tour with Paul Rodgers since its release. So yeah, Run with the Pack, amazing song. Not much more backstory about it I can add, but a killer, epic way to end side one of an already masterful album. Now you flip the vinyl record over to side 2, and we begin with a song which was never a single, but it became a classic rock radio staple. And a song that was played on the subsequent tour in support of the album, Silver, Blue, and Gold, which is a firm fan favorite, and it's written in the key of A-flat. The second Bad Company track to be in A-flat. And they had 4 of them in the original lineup days. Don't Let Me Down on the first album, Silver, Blue, and Gold here on this album, Passing Time on the next album, and the epic closer to Desolation Angels, She Brings Me Love. Oh man, this song begins with Paul Rodgers' grand piano, and then Mick Ralphs' Fender Stratocaster guitars, and Paul Rodgers singing the brilliant, in the beginning, I believed every word that you said. Now that you're gone, my world's in shreds. You loved me and left me and took all the things I needed so bad. I'm standing here wondering where's the love that I had. Then the chorus comes in. Give me silver, blue, and gold, the color of the sky I'm told. My rainbow is overdue. I thought I was saying it's home with you, but the lyrics on the original Bad Company anthology correct that goof up. In the beginning, there was something to love that was mine. Now that it's gone, well, I'm crying. Oh, the time that it takes for a love to grow cold is a wonder to me. I'm walking around my head and hanging down telling me, where is she? Then a repeat of the chorus, done brilliantly. And then it goes into the section alternating between F sharp and A flat, with the band, with Paul singing the low end and the other guys, Mick and Boz, harmonizing. Don't forsake me, 'cause I love you. And then, and then Paul singing that melody and Boz going, Don't forsake me 'cause I love you. Or 'cause I love you. I think either Boz was singing the low end or Mick was singing the low end, one of the two. So there's two of those, and then a repeat of the chorus into this brilliant guitar solo, double track by Mick Ralphs, who is playing, I think, the Telecaster and Stratocaster together to create the harmony guitar solos, which always hits me. And then a repeat of the chorus again, two more times, and then repeating the Don't Forsake Me 'Cause I Love You twice before Paul Rodgers ends with a yeah into the dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Oh my goodness. The song was never released as a single, but fans love it so much. They're like, God, was that ever a hit? I'm like, no, that was an album track. They're like, you mean to tell me Silver, Blue, and Gold was not released as a single? The answer is sadly no. It was never released as a single. It could have done, but they would have had to have done a lot of editing to it because the song is about 5 minutes. And AM radio was not going to play a 5-minute song. But the band thought of it highly enough to play it live on the subsequent Run with the Pack tour, which there's audience recordings of that song out there. If you look hard and carefully for it, you'll find a decent one. And they played it more often after they reunited in 1999. But it was only played sporadically in 1976. But the band also did think of it highly enough to include on the 1999 2-CD retrospective, the original Bad Company anthology. Silver, Blue, and Gold. My God, does that song rule? A beautiful, beautiful balladish type track, but a great song it is nevertheless. And anything else to add to Silver, Blue, and Gold? Great song. Not much more I can say. Silver, Blue, and Gold. Beautiful. Next is the song that was the biggest hit off the album, and it was the first single from the album, a cover of the Coasters' Young Blood. I didn't know this was a cover until years later, because I thought this was a Bad Company original when I first heard this thing. Back in 1986, yeah. It was a cover of the Coasters' 1957 hit, with Paul Rodgers, the band lowering the key from B flat to A. And it sounds better in A. And Paul Rodgers sing, I saw her standing on the corner, and the band going, whoo, whoo, yellow ribbon in her hair. I knew I couldn't keep myself from calling, look at that, and then, look at that, look at that, look at that. Young blood, young blood, young blood, I can't get you out of my mind. Like I was fractured. I'm trying to remember the rest of the lyrics. It's the song you'd be singing for days. And then in the second verse ends with the "What's your name?" and then Mick Ralph's English, "What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?" And then the repeat of the Youngblood chorus into the bridge. One crazy step, she looks so tough. I had to follow her all the way home. Things went bad. I met her dad, and he said, "You better leave my daughter alone." I couldn't sleep that night for crying. Ooh, as in the sun. And all night long I was sighing, she's the one. And then Mick Ralphs or Simon Kirk going, she's the one. And then Boz Burrell's, she's the one. And then she's the one. Oh my goodness. Paul singing in American. The other guy's doing the response in British accents. Hilarious, if I say so myself. Then repeating the chorus 3 more times before it ends with Paul going, can't get you out of my mind. Yeah. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And this cover was released as a single, and it went to number 20 here in the United States on the Billboard Singles Chart in the early spring of 1976, making it the biggest single from this album. Who would have thunk that? That a cover of Young Blood would be a hit single for Bad Company. But it was. It was a top 20 hit in 76. It could have done better, but never mind. It actually did better than the follow-up Honey Child, which stalled at number 59. But, great song. Young Blood is the Bad Company version, I might add. But a killer track. Not much more I can say. But a brilliant song. Young Blood is. Now we come to an acoustic ditty called Do Right By Your Woman, which was written by Paul Rodgers, which has Mick and Paul on acoustic guitars, and Paul Rogers on harmonica, and singing this love ballad, Do Right By Your Woman. Do right by your woman, she'll do right by you. Well, you always gave me loving though I treated you so bad. Changed my mind about wasting my time spending money and drinking wine. Oh my goodness. And then, of course, a repeat of the chorus. You always something. Forget the rest of the lyrics in the finished product mix. I tell you so, you'll understand. Do right by your woman. Then it has two different guitar solos by Mick Ralphs in the middle. First is the finger-picking Strat sounding guitar solo, then another solo played on a Telecaster with a bottleneck slide by Mick Ralphs. When he goes into that Delta blues territory, he's a very underappreciated slide guitarist as well. He can shred, but he can also play slide brilliantly. Then a repeat of the chorus to fade out at the very end. And this song was the B-side, I think, to either Honey Child or Young Blood. It'll tell you what song it was a flip side to, as this review keeps on going on the YouTube channel here. And Do Right By Your Woman, great song. A previously unreleased mix of the song was released on the original Bad Company anthology, which I think then was also released on the 2017 deluxe edition of Run With The Pack. But a song that kind of gets overlooked in the grand scheme of Bad Company history. But a great song nevertheless. I don't know why people don't think much of it, but I think the song kicks everyone right square in the ass. I digs it. And then we get to the penultimate song in the album, a rocker called Sweet Lil Sister, written by Mick Ralphs with this power chord. And Paul Rogers flew into Chicago, made a good connection. Out of the Rush Street, I was looking for some kicks. We were getting crazy. Dayton, Ohio, ain't got nothing on this. We were going crazy when I saw her coming, dancing with the devil in her eyes. Oh my goodness. Ooh, the baby, won't you say goodbye? Ooh, up down the road, up down New York City. Oh, down. Oh my goodness, I'm singing the darn thing. Long distance operator, get me Chicago. Oh my goodness. We were going crazy when I saw her coming, dancing with the devil in her eyes. Oh my goodness. I don't want you to say goodbye. And then the chorus, Sweet Lil Sister, you know you never missed her. She had it made in the shade. Sweet Lil Sister, you know you'll never miss her. Till she got laid. And then Mick Ralph's brilliant guitar solo. Amazing. And just singing his ass off. When I saw her come and dance with the devil in her eyes. The size. Sweet Lil Sister, you know you never miss her. She got it made in the shade. Oh man, what a killer rock tune. The band did play it live on the 1976 Run With The Pack tour. A live recording does appear on that Live in Albuquerque disc. And I don't know how many other times they played the song live, but this song is just kicking everyone right square in the ass. And an alternate take does appear on the 2-disc remaster from 2017, which is the band doing a live vocal in the studio version of it, just kicking everyone right square in the ass. But killer tune. Not much more I can add to it, but Sweet Lil Sister, an ass-kicking tune that takes names and kicks everyone right square in the ass. And that's all I got to say about that. And now we come to the end of the album with a ballad written by Paul Rogers, who also plays piano in this beautiful piece, called Fade Away, which once again features orchestration by Jimmy Horowitz. And this brooding song in the key of A minor always hits me. I don't know if it's the orchestra or the soulful guitar solo from Mick Ralphs from that Les Paul of his, Paul Rogers' piano. In the first verse, Paul Rogers sings the song very gently, fading colors, changing sounds, shades of night, come tumbling down, come tomorrow like yesterday. Then the backward echo from the members of from Paul Rogers comes in on the fade away. And Paul says the backward echo had a lovely ethereal feel. And apparently Mick Ralphs played the piano in, of course, a wicked solo. Boz locked tight with Simon. And the strings add to that almost unearthly feel. And it's possibly the darkest song in the Bad Company catalog. It's far less gung-ho and much more, what's all this for? Strings add the ominous air of anguish in the production of the track with a verse echo on the vocal. It's very different to anything Paul had done before or since. He wrote the song on guitar, and it reflects the distant feeling I get when I know that no matter how important it all seems now, will it really matter in the future? I like to write atmospheric and reflective songs, and here I am, a wayward man following a light to a distant land. Come tomorrow, may yesterday fade away. The chorus, high adventure, I've just begun, fame and fortune got me on the run, break of day, fade away, and then that brilliant guitar solo from Mick Ralphs. Then the final verse, oh yes, I am a wayward man following the light to a distant land, come tomorrow, like yesterday, fade away, and then the final fade away with that do-do-do-do-doon to end the album on that triumphant chord. Very haunting, atmospheric ending to this album, and Run with the Pack, upon its January 1976 release here in the States, gave the band their third consecutive top 5 album in a row, peaking at number 5 on the Billboard album chart, and it was the first Bad Company album to be certified platinum here in the States. They got their first ever platinum award, meaning 1 million copies or more sold, which it did, and the album to date has sold around 3 million copies in the US alone, and the album has been re-released in a number of configurations over the years. In 1994, a remastered CD was released done by the late George Marino, and then it was re-released again in 2017 with a remaster by John Astley, the same man who has been hit or miss with the Who catalog. And he was Pete Townshend's brother-in-law for so many years. But that 2-disc deluxe edition brings the remastered album, and also brings bonus tracks like the first take of Live for the Music, an early mix of the third take of Simple Man, an early mix of Honey Child with an alternate guitar solo, the title track of Run with the Pack, an extended version with an alternate vocal, then a previously unreleased track called Let There Be Love, which is a great tune. Sadly, it didn't make the cut because of time constraints of the vinyl record, because the album, as it stood, clocked in at 36 minutes and whatever seconds, so they had to make a sacrifice, sadly. Then also features Take One, early mix of Silver, Blue, and Gold, alternate vocal version of Youngblood, alternate vocal of Do Right By Your Woman, which I think is the same version that appears in the original Bad Company anthology, Sweet Lil Sister live in the studio by the band, early mix of Fade Away, with alternate guitar solo by Mick Ralphs, acoustic version of Do Right By Your Woman, recorded by a fire at the Chateau, brilliantly done. Then a cover of I Know I'm Losing You, which was a cover of the old Temptations tune, which was also covered by Rod Stewart, and the faces on Rod Stewart's Every Picture Tells a Story album. But I think Bad Company's version of it is the definitive take. Yeah, I mean, Paul Rodgers can outsing Rod Stewart any day of the week, twice on Sunday. In this version, I don't know why they didn't include it on the album. Oh yeah, again, timing constraints of the vinyl record. But yeah, it was a studio jam, but then again, they would put a jam on their next album. A Stone jam called Master of Ceremony. I don't know why Bad Company didn't put this song on Run with the Pack. I think it would have worked brilliantly. But, c'est la vie. Then you have another alternate take of Youngblood, alternative version number 2, and then the Island Studios demo of Fade Away. A lot to do on this album. And yeah, although Paul Rodgers said Mick Ralphs played piano on Fade Away, it turns out it was Paul that played the piano on Fade Away, because the credits here on the remastered deluxe edition says Paul Rodgers vocals, keyboards, and guitar, harmonica on Do Right By Your Woman, Mick Ralphs on guitars, Boz Burrell on bass guitar, Simon Kirke on drums, and Mick and Boz occasional backing vocals. My goodness. Run with the Pack. Not only is it my favorite Bad Company album, but it's also apparently the favorite of Paul Rodgers. And of course, Paul Rodgers said about the album, it's the best album they ever made. I feel that we were primed and ready for this album. It's a well thought out album, and the production and sound are very powerful. And then, of course, the band went on the road in support of Run with the Pack, and this time playing Madison Square Garden, Boston Garden. They toured the Run with the Pack album. And according to David, I'm reading this, the writer of the essay on the Run with the Pack Deluxe Edition, David Clayton, who is a Bad Company and Free connoisseur, said this is his favorite Bad Company album. I agree with him. Paul Rodgers even said it's his favorite Bad Company album. So who am I to deny those two guys? But yeah, Run with the Pack was sadly the final album from the original lineup that was top to bottom, fresh, full of energy, full of bite. Because the next album, which was recorded shortly after Run with the Pack's release, Burnin' Sky, which I'll talk about in the future, kind of didn't do as well as this album, but it's hard to top the first three albums. I mean, I will be doing episodes later on the debut album at some point. I'll do Straight Shooter. Actually, I have it done, but trying to edit it is a pain in the neck. This is a little more easier. This one, Run with the Pack's like my number one. Straight Shooter number two. The debut number the debut number three. Desolation Angels number four. Rough Diamonds number five. Burnin' Sky number six. But still, an album that doesn't have any bad moments whatsoever. And this album here is one of the major reasons why Bad Company is finally getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Better late than never. But I think a killer masterpiece of an album. And if you don't have Run with the Pack, what are you waiting for? You can try and get it on CD. If you can't find the deluxe edition on CD at the moment, just look on eBay for a used CD copy or vinyl copy. You'd be very pleased to have it. Guaranteed. Looking at the original Bad Company lineup, to me it's like the original Van Halen lineup. The only lineup. The untouchable lineup. Paul Rodgers, Mick Ralph, Simon Kirke, Boz Burrell. That's like David Lee Roth, Michael Anthony, Eddie Van Halen, may he lay in peace, and Alex Van Halen. And also Little River Band, Glenn Sharrock, B. Birtles, Graham Goebel, Derek Pellicci, those four cats, plus Roger McLachlan, who was on the first album, first two albums, may he lay in peace. Rick Formosa, who's also on those two aforementioned albums. David Briggs, who was on their biggest albums. And George McArdle, who was on two of those big ones. And the Mike Clark, Clive Harrison dual bass playing, swapping bass for hire from First Under the Wire, which is my favorite Little River Band album, which will be upcoming as an episode. And last but damn sure not least, although I don't like him now, but he did well on Time Exposure, Wayne Nelson. Those are the cats, man. The classic cats from that lineup. And Wayne Nelson, I don't like him after 1981. But Glenn Sharrock was to the Little River Band what David Lee Roth was to Van Halen, what Paul Rodgers especially was to Bad Company, the voice of the band. In the grand scheme of it, the original lineup of Bad Company, all six albums are good in their own way. Those songs for the 1999 retrospective was a glimpse to a reunion album that should have happened at that point. They should have done a full album. I would have bought that album in a heartbeat. But oh yeah, I almost forgot. Radio is too chicken to play new material from older acts. That rat bastard Bill Clinton. So in the grand scheme of everything, Bad Company is king, as far as I'm concerned, of supergroups. So before I go, I'm going to recommend you a couple of items in the Bad Company and related camp for you to check out. First off is Paul Rodgers' 1983 solo album, Cut Loose, which I only knew the title track because MTV and rock radio used to play the piss out of that track. Yeah. And yeah, that song I always liked. And people like, MTV played that video? Absolutely. And rock radio was a top 15 rock radio hit in 83. So that's on there. Fragile, which is another great track. The original version of Live in Peace, which Paul Rogers would re-record with the Firm on Mean Business. Sweet Sensation, Rising Sun, Boogie Mama, which was not a cover of that John Lee Hooker thing that Zeppelin did live. Morning After the Night Before, a nice bluesy track. North Winds, Superstar Woman, which was intentionally going to be a Bad Company track, but was not released. It was recorded originally with Bad Company, but not on the first album, but Paul Rogers' version was released before the Bad Company version. Hey, but it's a great song nevertheless, and Talking Guitar Blues, that kicks ass. And I'm also going to recommend the aforementioned, if you can find it, original Bad Company lineup 2-disc retrospective, which brings a lot of songs from the first 6 albums, plus the following here, as I grab the CD. Superstar Woman, which was not released. Little Misfortune, which was the B-side to Can't Get Enough. Easy on My Soul, the B-side to Moving On, which was recorded during the Street Shooter sessions. And Whiskey Bottle, which was recorded during the Street Shooter sessions, but was only released as the B-side to Good Loving Gone Bad. An alternate take of Do Right By Your Woman, which was eventually released on the deluxe run with the pack. And if you can find that, good luck, because it's goes for between $40 and $80 on eBay right now. They should re-release it. Smokin' 45, an outtake from Desolation Angels. And the 4 aforementioned final tracks of the original lineup recorded in 1998 and 99. Tracking Down a Runaway, Ain't It Good, Hammer of Love, and Hey Hey. Those are my picks of the moment, and before I go into and come back and say goodbye, I want you to give these YouTube channels and podcasts your love and attention, and to quote General MacArthur, I shall return. Check out The Rockin' Tours with Guy Pratt and Gary Kemp, both from Nick Mason's Saucerful of Secrets. Also check out Eddie Trunk's podcast. How can anyone not like Eddie Trunk? It's humanly impossible. And of course the Chris Jericho podcast, Y2J for the Win. And the following YouTube channels: Michael Borland's Classic Rock channels on YouTube, John Bowden's various Classic Rock YouTube channels. He's awesome. Freeform Rock podcast with my buddy Mark Alden Taylor. That's recommended as well. The Villain Cult podcast with Roy Dam, Eric Lawton, and Mike Lockhart. How can anyone not like those guys? Classic Rock Review. That's recommended. The Professor of Rock. Darren Locke, he's recommended. He's funny. He's deadpan British humor, but God bless him. Melinda Murphy's channel's recommended. Brandon Snyder, great YouTuber. Pete Pardo, Sea of Tranquility. The Man, the Myth, the Legend. And my new favorite, JCM Led Zeppelin Stories. Jose is the king of Led Zeppelin, and the man who's got more copies of In Through the Outdoor than any other human being I know in my life. He has about 50 some odd copies of it. And his YouTube channels and his deep dives into Zeppelin things, awesome, awesome, awesome. And if you're not a Zeppelin fan, check out his channel. You'll be very surprised, guaranteed. Then again, he's the same dude who got me into Santana as of late. JCM, I want to thank you for that, brother. And you're more than welcome to come on my show, and you and I definitely will have to do a collaboration one of these days. We'll have to figure out the time and the place. So before I go, here's some recommendations for other podcasts and so forth and so on. I want you fans to give your love to, and to quote General MacArthur, I shall return.
Mark Alden Taylor from the Freeform Rock Podcast, where we rock and roll all night and party every day. Come check us out on iTunes and Podbean. Thank you very much.
Hey everybody, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Chris.
And we're from the Decibel Geek Podcast. And if you love this...
then you'll love us.
That's That's right. Brand new episode every single Monday. You can find us on iTunes and at decibelgeek.com. And the best thing is, it's rock and roll and it's always free.
Mistress Carey reporting for duty. That's right. After rocking the airwaves in Boston for 22 years on WAAF, welcome to the Mistress Carey podcast. And if you love rock, this weekly podcast is for you. I'll introduce you to new bands that I think you are going to love and keep you in touch with the bands that are already your favorites. I'll take you backstage and expose you to the people behind the rock. Plus, we'll talk about everything else that we know and love, like motorcycles, tattoos, skydiving, hot rods, food, booze, and so much more. And let's not forget all of the branches of our military, our veterans, and first responders. Everything you know and loved about the Mistress Carey show, but now I'm unfiltered and uncensored. Fuck yeah! And if you never heard me before, well, welcome to the party. Subscribe now so you don't miss Mistress Carey podcast.
Please state the nature of the medical emergency.
Brain damage with Pink Floyd.
This stuff can give you brain damage.
Pink Floyd radio show.
Use only as directed.
There is no downside in the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all
Your controls are set to the Random Precision Radio Network. This is Floodian Slip, an hour of Pink Floyd. I'm Craig Bailey. Find us online at floodianslip.com. Write to us at pink at floodianslip.com. Floodian Slip is a Random Precision production.
You're listening to Nights with Alice Cooper. I think my Speedo is starting to cut off the flow of oxygen to my head. And that's why I got so
temperamental with anyone. There's the impertinence to question his wisdom, and hello, I pops his inner courier.
Hi, and welcome to In the Studio. Redbeard here with the stories behind history's greatest rock and roll albums.
You're welcome. Guitar up. 1, 2, 3.
Follow In the Studio on Facebook, at Redbeard Rocks on Twitter, and online at inthestudio.net.
Well, my friends, I'm afraid this comes to an end, this episode of TJR's Classic Rock Corner podcast on Bad Company's Run with the Pack. Coming next episode will be another From the Vault episode, Led Zeppelin's Presence, but that album I'm going to be combining with The Song Remains, the same soundtrack, and some things I didn't mention in that original recording, which now I'm borrowing some tidbits that I got from JCM Led Zeppelin stories, which I'll share the credit with on some of the co-writing on that one. And a lot of other episodes coming soon. Little River Band First on the Wire, re-air of Van Halen's Women and Children First and Fair Warning will be out as well. The first Van Halen album, which I have to take out many profanities. And a bunch of other things. Hotel California I'll re-air. Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd will be re-aired because that album's going to be turning the golden anniversary of that album. And many other things to come. So this is the classic rock brainiac Terrence Reardon, thanking you all for tuning on in. I apologize if I hadn't done an episode in months, but it was well worth the wait. I love you all. Thank you very much. Good night. God bless you. TJR's Classic Rock Corner podcast was written, produced, hosted, so on and so forth by yours truly, the classic rock brainiac, Terrence Reardon. The intro music and the outro music is by the one and only Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin from the Death Wish 2 soundtrack. Copyright 2025 TJR Rock Sponge Incorporated, all rights reserved. Once again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Good night, my friends. God bless you.